Hello, everyone. Happy Mondays. Hope you've all had an amazing week last week. I certainly did. I went to a record fair yesterday, sold a few records, so that was good. But yeah, it's a brand new week. And this week, we're starting the new week chatting to an awesome drummer. We normally do it so like at the end of the week, when everybody's sort of like relaxed and everything. But this week, it's because I went to a record fair yesterday, so I thought I'll do it on a Monday. And thank heavens, our guest today said that he's fine to do it on a Monday afternoon, so that's good. Yeah, so it's quite early. It's still 3 minutes till 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK. So it's 3 minutes till 9 p.m. in Manila. So I thought, well, we're all ready now, so we're gonna start early. And today, our amazing drummer guest, I'm actually gonna ask him about this scene called Rare Groove. Because for us in the Philippines, we do love a new wave music, but this is rare groove, acid jazz scene. So I'm really excited about that. Although when I saw him live a few months ago, he was actually in a new wave band, or what we call new wave in the Philippines. So yeah, my dear friends, please welcome Crispin, the Pump Taylor of the Blow Monkeys.
Hello.
Yay!
Hi,
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm very well.
Yeah, that name Crispin is that Crispin? Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
Crispin. Crispin,
no,
yeah.
it's Crispin. Yeah, it is quite a strange name over the years. I've had some, some experiences with it. I think
Yeah,
there was a Saint Crispin
yeah.
who was weirdly the patron saint of shoemakers. I don't know whether,
Oh,
and there's a St. Crispin's Day, which was there was a famous battle. I think
yeah.
it's Henry V or something. My dad was into Shakespeare and stuff, and there's a speech where he goes on St. Crispin's Day. We're going to go out there, and you're going to, So it's related to that.
Yeah, well, we have a Crispin, but we say it in the Philippines. We say Crispin,
Yeah, that
so it's
sounds
not
good.
Crispin, but it's Crispin, and it's like there's some two characters like boys Crispin and Basilio, in
Ah,
a novel written by Dr. Jose Rizal, a Philippine national hero called Noli Me
okay.
Tangere,
Ah,
and every high school student in the Philippines has to read that novel. so but it's Crispin, not Crispin, but Crispin.
okay.
Yeah.
I
So
did go to Manila not that long ago. Well, a few years,
all
actually,
right.
5 years ago. We went to play with a band called Workshy, who's some friends of mine who
All
um,
right.
who are actually quite big in that part of the world. They don't really do much in the UK, but they've always been big in Japan and Manila, and around there, in
All right. And
Philippines.
you play drums
Yeah,
and
play
work.
drums. Yeah,
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
it was must have been a 5. It was definitely pre-lockdown.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow. Well, when I saw you in Liverpool at Hangar 34, that's with the Blow Monkeys.
That's right. Yeah,
That's amazing. I mean, Workshire, I've heard of it, but I'm not sure. Is that still considered new wave or
it's kind of jazzy,
jazzy? Yeah.
soul-y. It's kind of more in a sort of like Swing Out Sister, that kind of thing. It's a bit
Yeah,
jazzy, a bit, you know. I won't say pop because that's almost an
yeah. No, and the reason
disco
why,
pop.
yeah, well, the reason why I always say new wave because in the Philippines, it's always been massive. Even now, I mean, they have like new wave events coming up
Right.
in November and December as well. So that's the reason why you always you'll often hear me say new wave and
Yeah.
the Blow Monkeys.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
part of the new wave
They
scene.
were. I mean, I've done 3 or maybe 4 even albums for them now, it's all new stuff. Robert's he works really hard. He
Yeah,
gets some nice good stuff together. We're doing an album at the moment. We're going to start recording next week, or no, actually not next week. In a couple of weeks,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
in the Black Barn Studios, which is Paul Weller's place in Woking.
Wow. Well, okay, so we're gonna start. So, welcome to Ask the Drummer.
Yeah.
Episode 143 is all about
Oh,
you, Crispin, the Pump
the
Taylor.
pump,
I
they call
really
me,
like
yes.
that. I like that nickname, the Pump.
Well, it's funny. I mean, it did start. It stuck. It was you mentioned Rare Groove, and that scene in the late '80s, basically, probably '87. It kind of started, kicked off, and
Yeah,
these guys who ran nights there, Ronald and Blaze, and they just called me the Pump. They went, "You're the Pump," because I was pumping out the rhythm.
yeah, because apparently you became known for hard hitting, funky,
That's right.
breakbeat
Yeah,
style. So, yeah,
my bag, like breaks and that sort of style. Yeah, probably early '70s when drum was quite intricate kind of beats and stuff before
yeah.
the machines took over.
Is that something that is that something that that was deliberate though, or it just like came as like an organic thing that you just started playing, or was it deliberate in your part that you really wanted to do this?
I really have always loved that sort of music, even from being a child. I mean, young, 12, 13 years old. We used to listen to weirdly like Herbie Hancock, Headhunters and all that kind of stuff coming out of the US in the
Yeah,
early '70s, and we used to love it. Where jazz went funky sort of thing. So I
yeah,
had a kind of, I'd always loved that kind of thing. We're playing it quite young as well. So when it got to when I joined Push actually, which would have been in '87, or when we started Push really, I was already up on that kind of style, and I felt comfortable with it.
yeah. Well, you're born and bred in London, right?
Yeah.
So can you just tell us a bit about what your London was like when you were growing up?
I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I did start playing quite young, um, 11 years old, but I was playing a bit of bass then. And my friend was playing drums, but we were always around instruments. We've had
Yeah,
people who knew people who had instruments, and we started doing some gigs in there when I was that age, which was a bit scary at times because it was in like weird sort of hippie clubs in Kentish Town and Camden, the West End and stuff.
yeah.
And but it was good fun, and I suppose I got caught the bug there a bit for gigging and performing, and from there, I always tried to whenever anyone needed any, music. I went to a sixth form college where they had a lot of music going on. It was kind of the punk days, really, and I kind of cut my teeth playing punk and whatever. And
Yeah.
if anyone said, "You play the drums?" I went, "Yeah." And then I got better at it and got more known for playing drums, kit drums. And I always loved drums anyway. I always had to think about them.
But it wasn't your first musical instrument. You were
Well, not
playing
really.
bass.
I used to play a bit of guitar, but it became my first proper instrument.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Once I got a kick, that we started working for a band, and the manager, actually invested in some equipment, so I got a drum kit. So I was really chuffed about that.
Oh,
I
brilliant.
think we took it back at him, but never mind. I carried on.
Oh, that's good. Well, Aiden said that sound and vision very good. So you saw my technical support earlier when we were
Oh,
on.
okay.
That's what he
Okay,
said. That's
brilliant.
very good. Yeah. So, are you from a musical family at all?
Not really. My dad used to play a bit of guitar. He was always into, and they loved the Beatles. I was kind of a Beatles baby. Every Beatles record that came out, they'd buy, and I'd hear it, and it was quite influential, really. I still love the Beatles, and yeah, he had some guitars around the house, but not really. He wasn't a musician.
So you're the first
Yeah,
professional
yeah,
musician in the family. Yeah,
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
yeah. So when you decided you're not going to be doing the guitar, but you're doing the drums, did you get proper lessons or
No, you know what? I'm
self-taught?
self-taught on the drums, and I just learned by doing gigs, really, and that's how anytime with the punk rock days, kind of 76, 77, there was lots of gigs around, and you could jump up and get in a band and just thrash away, and there were lots of gigs, and that's basically how I kind of learned, was doing gigs. And to be honest, I wish I'd practiced more then, because I practice much more now than I used to. But I did learn to, a lot of the craft of doing a show, basically, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stamina for like playing for a while fast, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned Push earlier. So is
Hmm.
that your first proper band?
Well, no, really, I was in a band. The first proper band was actually a friend of mine got me into a band with the guitarist was from Generation X, if you remember them, Billy
Oh,
Idol, you know, all
yeah,
those
yeah,
called Durwood, and he had a band called Empire, and I joined them. I was in my early 20s, and we went out and toured. That was probably the first real professional engagements. I'd done bits of recording and stuff before that, but that
yeah,
was yeah. And we did some support tours, you know, for a few people in the early 80s,
yeah, yeah,
and that was
yeah.
more kind of like rock, you know, quite sort of, I suppose, U2ish, even though we felt they nicked our sound, but in the same time. But yeah, and I did that, but that never. Unfortunately, just before we were about to get signed, there was an argument, and all the gear was smashed up, and that was the end of it.
An argument within the band members,
Yeah,
or it was like, oh no, oh dear,
oh no, it was bad. It was tragic.
oh dear. Oh, sorry to hear that. And then you formed Push because you're the
Well, yeah,
founding
a
member.
friend of mine who was in a band called the Weather Prophets, actually, which was a creation. It was Asheen
Which
Lit.
one?
Is
Oh my
Asheen?
god, yeah, yeah. I love the Weather Prophets.
All right.
Like,
Well, Asheen kind of got pushed together really with a guy called Ernie McCone, he's a well-known bass player now. You know,
yeah,
he's and Ernie and Asheen came to me and said, "Can you do some?" They had the idea to do what was called Rare Groove then. You know, it was basically we were kind of covering these brilliant 7-inch singles, and it was quite specific, probably like 1970 to 73, 74 in the US.
yeah,
That
yeah,
sound, you know, and there was Roy Ayers and things like that, and some more
yeah,
rarer bands and stuff, and James Brown, of course, and that was, and then there was a whole sort of movement, I suppose, in London, where a few bands came out, like Brand New Heavies, um, and James Taylor
James Taylor,
Quartet,
yeah, James
JTQ,
Taylor Quartet.
and we were pushing. We used to do quite a lot of gigs, and we got very popular. I think we were probably one of the best. You know, we played that style well, you know, and we got quite a good reputation for it, and
Wow,
went on to, you know, do all right. But we never really signed. We used to put our own records out in
yeah,
the 90s, which was kind of better for us in a way. But you know, so we never really got us, you know, to the great heights that the Brand New Heavies did and all that. But we kind of got enlisted, me and Ernie, as the rhythm section for Galliano, because we're on the same. The first album was on Polydor. It's called Acid Jazz and Other Illicit Grooves, and it was the first time the Acid Jazz name was used. But it wasn't on Acid Jazz Records. It was on Acid. It was on Polydor Records,
oh, I see, yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah,
and we had a track on this album, and Rob Galliano had a track on it as well. And so we got to know he needed a band. So we got kind of recruited. So the push thing kind of went on because that suddenly started doing really well, and we got a lot of shows, you know, and started touring the world. And next thing
yeah.
you know, I've got mortgage, marriage, kids, and everything.
That's absolutely amazing. You know, I should have researched more about Push because you mentioned the Weather Prophets because you know Peter Astor and Dave Morgan and you know.
Yeah, Dave, yeah. Yeah, well, Asheen, I mean, he kind of left the band because he moved to Canada. He started it, but he left. He moved to Canada, and then we had a guitar player called Mark Vanderblast. We called him Vandergut, who unfortunately is no longer with us. He
Uh,
tragically died a year ago now, but he was a great player. You know, he had all the kind of the influences were Grant Green and the guys in the JBs. You know, those players, those kind of
yeah,
jazzy but funky players. You know, and he had
yeah.
that down. And
Wow.
we did a couple of albums. I've got loads of them here on CD. I'm looking at them now. The last one we did was probably in 2011, and we would still do like 7-inch singles. Band on a
Yeah.
Mission, that was one of them. That cover
Oh
there,
wow.
I'll send you one if you like.
That's amazing. You know,
That
that's
cover was
really
done
good.
by. I mean, it's a shame it's not on. It was supposed to be an LP cover. That's done by Tony McDermott, who used to do all those dub albums, you know, like Scientist Meets the Space Invader, all
Yeah,
those kind of things.
yeah,
He was the
yeah,
guy, the artist who did that. He was a brother of a mate of mine. So he
yeah.
did cover.
Yeah. because we get those albums at King B Records. I always sort like see it, and there's all scientists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all
So
the green sleeve stuff, and yeah,
that's right. Yeah, yeah. So from Push, you then joined Galliano.
yeah.
Now, Galliano, I think it was recently that they reformed and started gigging again.
Sorry,
Or
say
was it?
again.
Well, they started gigging again. They reformed. Was
Yes,
it?
we
You know,
reformed,
I was like, yeah.
and we've done some shows. Last year we did one in London in Hackney. I forget the name of the place, but and then we've got a show coming up in London at the Shepherd's Bush Empire on the 22nd of November.
Of November.
Yeah, and a couple more
Oh,
shows.
right.
We've just done an install because we released an album. We knocked out an album quite quickly, and we've just done a series of installs that have been, we've got some good critical acclaim.
Yeah, yeah. Because Galliano, that's a dance. It's a dance band, isn't it? It's
Well,
Galliano.
yeah, I mean, Galliano, it can straight. The good thing about it is it was Rob Gallagher's baby. He's the captain, and he's basically started off as a jazz poet, in sort of Gil Scott Heron kind of vein.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, and then and the Last Poets and that kind of thing. He was into that, but then we added the band to it, and we put some nice funky music down, and he became he's a good rapper, and all sorts of things. But with the musically, it can be quite well. Now we can be Latin, reggae, funk. Everything's in there.
Yeah, yeah. So you're gonna be doing a gig in November, but you're also touring with the Blow Monkeys
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
This is something that I find really fascinating about drummers, because with drummers they can actually be in loads of different bands.
Well, it is a bit. It can be scary sometimes. Juggling the diaries.
Yeah.
And I do a few other things as well. We do Dexter Wansell when he comes over, who's the Philadelphia international producer and arranger. I mean, he's an incredible guy. We got Ronnie Scott's with him in October as well, and that's a nice gig to play. MFSB was his thing, the jazz funk thing.
Yeah,
I suppose it was late 70s, early 80s, but he also, he had a hand in producing things like Ain't No Stopping Us Now and those big kind of club disco stuff. So all that's in the set as well.
yeah.
But it's quite difficult juggling sometimes, and it can be, occasionally
But
used.
it's more exciting though. It's more exciting because if you compare it with the singer, I mean, the singer can't be the singer of 2 or 3 bands.
Not if you're the sort of the front person.
Yeah, that's right.
You could do solo albums. I mean, Robert used to do that. Dr. Robert has done a few good solo albums.
Yeah, but not fronting another band if you're actually
No.
the main band.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I mean, we're much more mercenary.
Well, the one thing that I would like to ask you as well, this is really special to me because you're in Indian Vibes.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
Indian
Paul
Vibes.
Weller project.
Indian Vibes with Paul Weller, yeah.
Yeah, because Indian Vibes, I remember it very clearly. I was living in the Middle East in the 90s. And I used to see the video of Indian Vibes on Channel V, the equivalent of MTV in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Quite a lot. So how did this project come about?
Well, Paul Weller has been a bit of a chat. When we were in the early days of Push, Paul Weller's always got his ear to the ground, and he liked the scene, the rare groove thing. And he came to see us at, we were supporting Curtis Mayfield. And I think Dr. Robertson was there as well. And this was in like 88 maybe. And he loved the band, and he did us a favor, he took us in his studio, he wrote us a song, he recorded our set. He was nice. He sort of took us under his wing a bit. But out of that, Jacko, my friend who was in Push, who's the sax player, is now a permanent fixture in Paul's band. They're on the road now. They're in the States.
Wow.
So we knew him through that. And he just called me. He wanted to do this thing, and it needed the funky drums. And I was the man for the job. Yeah,
because I actually saw it on Google that you're the go-to funky drummer.
Well, well, I'd like to think that's true. I mean, I'm. There's been a few years now. I'm sure there's other great players out there.
And you know what I posted on Facebook this morning as well. The engineer, the one who engineered that song, Pete Hurst,
Oh yeah.
we're friends on Facebook, and I
Oh,
didn't
brilliant.
realize. Yeah, so he said that I engineered that, and I looked
Wow.
it up again on Discogs, and yeah,
I
his
remember.
name
Yeah,
was there
we did
also.
play it live, and we Paul had a sitar, electric sitar plugged in. That was good. That was good fun. I
Right.
remember it being a really enjoyable session.
Yeah,
And Brendan Lynch, I think, was the producer.
right. But you only did one single, and then that's it.
No, I mean it was purely Paul wanted to do a cover of that track. It's a cover of the Dave Pike thing,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of just what he wanted to do, and he did it. And
And then that's it.
maybe he had some downtime, but he's so busy, and he's just since he was very young, it's like album tour, he never stops, does he?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that Steve Pilgrim is his drummer at the moment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So he didn't need a funky drummer this time. It was
No, 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 no. He's got the youngsters in.
so, but you've been in other bands apart from Push and Galliano.
Yeah, I mean, we did in the early days of Talking Loud, which Galliano was signed to. We were kind of the rhythm section. We did a band called Urban Species that did quite well. Had some hits in France with MC Solar and stuff. That we did an album for them and a bit of touring. And Carleen Anderson, who was the
Yeah,
singer, she was the Young Disciples was on Talking Loud as well. And we did her album.
yeah. There's one called the Flips.
Oh, the Flips was one of the first things I ever did, which was I was very young then. It
Oh,
was
okay.
a kind of independent band we're in the 70s now, I think, the late 70s, maybe early 80s, actually, yeah. Very early, yeah. And they were girls from Camden School for Girls,
Yeah.
and they needed a drummer, so I provided.
Yeah. So was it a funky drumming, or is it?
We were kind of, because at the time, people were getting into, I was always been into funk. And I was trying to get that element in there a bit, but it was much more kind of indie, what you would call indie music,
Yeah.
Almost like what they used to call shoegazing music. I don't know if you've heard of that.
All right.
Shoegazing, where the singer would just look
They're
down.
just looking at the. Well, there's also one. I don't know if this is an actual band or an organization. It's called 07.
Oh, 07, yeah, I did them. Sorry, I forgot about it. I did that in the early 2000s for about 4 years or so. That was good fun. We toured a lot. We got quite popular live. They'd already released the album called Simple Things, which is a great album. It sold like 2 million copies plus. It was a big record for them. Then they're basically producers, Sam and Henry. And Sia was the singer, who went on, of course, to be, do incredibly well in the States. She writes for Beyonce and Rihanna and David Guetta. She does these huge, Sia, SIA. Sia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was the singer of 07. So she was we were on the road with her, and we did quite a lot of tours in the States and some gigs here. It was good fun.
Yeah.
That'd be early 2000s,
Yeah. Well, you're a producer yourself. You're also. Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into a bit of that on my own stuff. I've got all the gear here behind me. You can't really see it, but and I've got drums plugged in downstairs at the bottom of the house in a little basement, and it's a very small space, so I have to kind of play like, but it does work. I've recorded for the Blow Monkeys down there a couple of albums now, because everyone started doing remote recording in the lockdown, obviously, and it kind of got me through that, and I get a pretty good sound.
Yeah.
I've got some nice drums.
Well, Aiden said that Curtis Mayfield's "Move On Up" is one of his favorite records.
Oh yeah,
and you played. So you supported Curtis Mayfield.
We did. We did, and he was an incredible guy. I mean, it was like we met him, and he had such a warm vibe. Just a great charisma, and he was an amazing person to meet. We loved his music, and he had an unfortunate accident. You remember where the stage truss or something fell on him, and it didn't kill him, but later on he didn't last much longer after that. It's very sad. But he was he's a musical icon, isn't he?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So,
And Move On Up,
um,
yes, particularly good track. Especially they got the drum break in the halfway through on part two.
have you tried doing that?
Yeah, I have. I've played it a couple of times. It's not easy, not as easy as it
If
sounds.
not, it's easy. So, how did you become a member of the Blow Monkeys? So how did you?
Well,
Like,
same. I mean, kind of because Robert's a friend of Paul Weller, and it's the sort of same circles he moved in. But Robert moved to Spain actually, but he's always been doing. I'd met him before, and I played on some of his solo stuff. Through the years
yeah.
ago, 20 years ago probably, and I started doing, and he did an album as well for PP Arnold.
Oh yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
did quite well. 5 in the afternoon, it was called. And so I was always working for Robert when he was doing solo stuff. And then the original drummer, Tony Kiley, went and joined the Illegal Eagles.
Oh, is that like a
This is
tribute?
basically it's almost like a franchise. It's like one of those big, what they call tribute bands, but
Tribute
like
band, yeah.
really like a proper job, like those ones like
Oh,
the
I
Aberwatch.
see.
They
Yeah, yeah.
tour everywhere. They tour the world. They all get good money. It's a good job. So he had to do that. He needed and so Robert got me in.
Oh, it's brilliant. What year was this when you joined
Well, what's I suppose becoming a fully, because I depped a couple of times. He used to swap it around a bit. If Tony could do it, then he pulled me in.
yeah.
Then I suppose now it must be probably about 8 years. If I
8
think
years.
back, I've been doing it, or 7 years as a Blow Monkey.
Yeah, and you've done albums, like 4 albums while you're
Yeah,
in
I think it must be. It's coming up to 4. We were actually, this will be the 4th one coming up that we record soon.
yeah.
On 3, and they're sorry, my thing's going off. Get off. Yeah, and I mean, it's great. I love working for Rotten, the guys. It's the original bass player and sax player, keyboard player, Neville and Mick. It's great. We really enjoy it. We don't go crazy and do like massive long tours. It's mainly like a few gigs, a bit of a rest.
There, we're live again.
Brilliant.
Yes, I'm really sorry about that. Sorry,
No
everyone.
worries. No
Yeah,
worries.
and sorry, Crispin. We've been getting a lot of these lately, so I think I need to talk to my husband and get us a new computer. Maybe that will solve the
Well,
problem. Yeah. But anyway, so we were talking about the Blow Monkeys.
Yeah.
And so you've been in the Blow Monkeys playing drums for 8 years now, and you've done this will be the 4th album now that you're
Yes,
doing.
that's right. Yeah. And he changes it up a little bit every time, to make the albums a bit different. I think this one's going to be probably a bit more maybe on the sort of funkier side, maybe. We shall see.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a group on Facebook, a music group, and a friend of mine in New York actually he was surprised that the Blow Monkeys are still producing albums.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, his big hits were obviously in the 80s, weren't they? 83, mid 80s.
Yeah.
And but he's just kept on going. I think they did have a sort of hiatus. They stopped for about 10 years and then reformed. Must be about 2005 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then soon after that, I joined up.
Yeah, he was actually surprised when I said, well, the drummer of the Blow Monkeys, the current drummer of the Blow Monkeys, is going to be on Ask the Drummer. So I hope he's watching. He's in New York. He lives in New York. So hello, Robert.
Cool, yeah.
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 So you're going to be doing a Spanish tour, not European tour, but just a Spanish tour.
Just a Spanish tour, yeah. Robert actually lives in Spain, in what they call the Lecrim Valley, which is kind of near Sierra Nevada mountains. It's a beautiful area. He's been there for about 15 years now, and he's got to know some Spanish promoters, and they like the band, and we've been doing a few gigs there. It's always nice to go away somewhere like that.
Well, it's not just 1 or 2 shows. It's actually quite a few shows that you're doing in Spain. So you're doing quite a lot, yeah. And then after that, you're going to be doing a UK tour.
That's right. And he's got a great a retrospective thing happening at Cadogan Hall in December, where he's going to look at the whole of the Blow Monkeys career. you know, and everyone who's been involved with it are going to jump up and do a little piece. It should be a really good gig.
Wow. Is it going to be the same in Manchester?
No, I think it's normal Blow Monkeys gigs. I think it's only one gig. We've got it's Cadogan Hall, 5th of December.
December, yeah.
And it's going to be nice. It's going to be fun. But all the gigs go down well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Manchester one at the Academy too. I think that will be really good. The one thing I wanted to ask you is Dr. Robert really a doctor?
I think he gets asked that quite a lot, and the answer is no. It's from the Beatles, you know. I presume that's the nickname comes from. He might, disagree with me, but from Revolver, there's a track called Dr. Robert, isn't there?
Oh,
on the Beatles album, is it Revolver?
All right. This is the one workshop when you mentioned it earlier, and you've been to the Philippines as a member of workshop. It's not on your Discogs entry though, so that's why I didn't see it.
I don't know. I did. Does it say? I haven't looked at that for a while. I should, because I did. We did a Mother Earth thing as well. I remember you were asking about Mother Earth was a band on acid jazz in the it's kind of like that, late 80s, early 90s, and they did quite well for acid jazz. And Matt Dayton became
Matt Dayton, isn't it?
Yeah, he became a good friend, and we did some solo stuff for him. And just before lockdown, it was me, Ernie, the bass player, and Mick Talbot went and did some Mother Earth gigs, and with Celine Fleming and Matt, and they did quite well. And we kept it all in house. It was good fun. We just started recording, but then the lockdown came and sort of just squashed it. And then it never really picked up again after that. But we did a little release, a little EP and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing Matt Dayton supporting Dr. Robert. This was a solo gig in Manchester. And then I realized that Matt Dayton's actually from the same circle, Dr. Robert and yourself. And so,
I think they're actually, because they quite enjoyed working together, just with guitars, solo sort of things, singing together. They've just done an album that's going to be released very soon with Matt Dayton and Dr. Robert.
Yeah, and did you mention Mick Talbot of the Style Council?
Yeah, because he used to do Galliano with us, of course, back in the early 90s. He was in the band up till about 94, 95. And also Carlene and, all the stuff we did. We always like to work with Mick. He's a good mate and a great player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd love to meet Mick Talbot someday. he's
Ernie, the bass player of Push and Galliano, he's currently doing with Steve White, who was the original drummer in the Star Council.
Yeah.
They're doing DC Lee, who was the singer.
Yeah. Yes.
And she's got shows. I think there's probably one in Manchester. There's quite a lot of
one. Yeah, I'm supposed to be back because I'm going away for 2 weeks, 10 days. And DC Lee is playing at Band on the Wall in Manchester.
That's right.
On the 1st of October, I think it is. And
that'll be with Steve and Ernie. And
so is Mick Talbot going to be there?
Sorry?
Is Mick Talbot going to be...
I think he's doing the London shows. I'm not sure if he's doing all the... Because then it started to look like the whole Star Council was doing it,
Yeah, the Star Council without Paul Weller.
Yeah. There is a Star Councillors. Have you seen it? They're a tribute band.
Oh, yeah. So is he part of the Star Councillors?
Yeah, they get quite a lot of gigs.
Brilliant. Well, I've also found out that you were on stage with George Clinton at one point.
Oh, yeah. Now, I played for the Funk Brothers at the time. I was called up. It was quite a funny story. I remember driving along, my phone rang, and it was Jack Ashford, who's there's a film called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. I don't know whether you've ever seen it.
Oh, right.
Where it's all about the unsung heroes of Motown Records, the guys who did and Jack was the percussionist. He plays the tambourine, and that you can hear the tambourine on all those records. Well, that's all him, and he used to play vibes as well. But because we were kind of known in a Motown thing, we'd done Kim Weston before. I was the go-to guy, and they called me. And I just went, yeah, of course I'll do it. And the next thing I know, I was doing the Funk Brothers.
Wow.
And then from that, we did George Clinton. He was using the same band but they had a drummer. But the drummer wasn't really a drummer. It's quite weird. The drummer was his kind of right-hand man, who was an incredible musician, but he didn't have the, drummers will agree with me. If you're going to do long shows and stuff, you need a lot of stamina, and you kind of need to be match fit. And this guy was a great player, and but he wasn't really a drummer. He was an amazing bass player, and he could play everything. He's one of those people, And then I remember the MD of Clinton's band said, you might have to jump up for a couple of tunes. So I was like, oh, all right, then I suppose so, yeah. And I was waiting for him, and all I got was he just looked at me like, moved his head like that, and that meant get on the stage. And I had to go and play. So I have put that on my CV. We did a few gigs, and I think I played, I jumped up on those gigs.
Yeah.
When he got too tired, the poor other guy. I was a substitute.
That must have been like, one of the highlights of your career.
I'll never forget it, because I remember sitting at backstage before he went on. I think it was Glasgow, one of the first gigs, and he just came and sat next to me backstage while the band were on playing. They'd started, and he didn't feel like going on yet, and he just sat there, for a good 20 minutes while the band were playing the same song, and the guitarist was going, solo put on the monitor and everything, and the fans were going on, and I thought, God, he's really, he's taking his time here. And after about 20 minutes, he sort of went, all right then, and he wandered on. And then the first thing he did, which I thought was brilliant, was he got the mic and stuck it in the guitar amp because he didn't think it was loud enough.
Oh.
So all the engineers are going mad, the crowd went mad, and it was great.
And also, when Dex's Midnight Runners came back,
I did that. Yeah, I did
as well.
I did the comeback tour. In mid 2005.
2005, no, 2003, I think it's.
Oh, 2003. Yeah, and we did the DVD of that, actually. I really enjoyed that as well. Well, Mick was the MD there, Mick Talbot, so he got me involved in that. And I also did his band, The Bureau. We did another round for them, which was a kind of the original Dexys band when they split from Kevin Rowland after the Young Soul Rebels album. They went on to form The Bureau. And I did some work with them as well. But Dexys was good fun. It's quite intense.
What's it like working with Kevin Rowland?
I liked working with him. He does, he likes to rehearse. I'll say that. Yeah. And he'll record the passes, and he'll be very on your case, But I felt it was a good discipline, really, everything, things like that. I think we did more rehearsals than shows.
Have you ever had time off though? Because it seems like you've been playing with all these amazing.
I do. I think I've slowed down a bit now. I mean, like I say, not many of the bands I work with, we don't go out and do. Maybe next year we might do longer tours, but there's never really long tours like we used to do.
Yeah.
So if I get a chance, with my wife, we might go somewhere nice on holiday. But you don't get much time off. I mean, especially if I want to get something of my own together. You got to put your own time into that.
Yeah, because at the moment now that you're waiting for the Spanish tour, the Blow Monkeys Spanish tour to sort of start, you're doing your own. You're doing your own solo.
Doing my own thing, and we just come off this in-store thing with Galliano that was actually really interesting because I'd never really done. I'd done in-stores before where you just used to turn up with a shaker and an acoustic guitar, and then you play 2 tracks and you sign a couple of records. But this, we actually did like a half-hour show, and the whole crowd. Part of the deal was the crowd bought the album, and then they were able to get in to see the show, and then afterwards you'd have to sign it. So in say rough trade, there must have been 150 people there. Yeah, they all sold out, these in-stores, and you sign all the records. It takes longer to sign the records than to gig.
Than to play, though. Yeah. Are you doing
really nice because you're meeting people who are really into the band, and they talk about when they first saw you, and sometimes they have kids, and they go this, and the kids are into, because the kids can go to record shops, they don't get shut out of like venues.
That's
So
right.
it was a really nice tour. I mean, really enjoyed it, and we got a lot of love from the fans. The few fans
Yeah.
we have.
Well, are you gonna do some more of these Galliano shows, or is
Yeah,
that
yeah. Well, we've got like I said, we got the Shepherd's Bush, November
in
26th.
November? Yeah. Anyone
And
in
there is I think there's a Manchester. Yeah, Manchester Academy. I think there's one there, and there's a Bristol,
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
and then
yeah,
after
and it's
that,
all on social media, isn't it? You can all find it. So, like,
yeah,
just
they could all. Yeah, it's all in the Galliano stuff, and
yeah,
links and stuff,
yeah.
tickets, that stuff. And also, we're going to do a radio show, I think, in a couple of weeks for Craig Charles. So we got a live session for him.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I know that Greg Charles also sometimes he plays, or no, not all the plays, but Mick Talbot also like plays with
We
Greg
used to
Charles
be,
when he does
we
this.
were his sort of house band. We did that a few times where we
Yeah,
would go in, me, Mick, and Ernie. I mean, Ernie's quite good friends with him, and then we used to go and do sort of covers, I suppose, for say it was Christmas. We do like soulful Christmas tunes, or
yeah,
and we
yeah.
were sort of house band for his radio show. It was really good fun.
Well, I saw them at the Lowry at one time. The Real People was like playing, and then Craig
Oh yeah,
Charles. I'm just wondering if you're the drummer there.
no, I didn't.
Probably
I
not.
had played for Real People a long time ago,
No, yeah,
but I'm not the drummer. No, but we did do one of his shows because he goes out as a DJ for radio too as well on
yeah,
BBC Six, and he brings a band in sometimes, and we've done that with Push actually.
yeah, yeah,
That was about 10 years ago now, maybe a bit more, when we released our album, which he helped us well. We were really pleased because when you're doing things independently like that, you really need help from DJs and stuff.
the established DJs and
Yeah.
stuff. Well, another one that I also wanted to ask you, because I'm a big fan of this. I don't know if it's a band or a group. Imagination is another
Oh,
one,
yeah.
and you play drums.
I played
Uh,
drums for Lee. Yeah, Lee for about, I
yeah,
suppose a few years now. I mean, but I don't do it so much anymore. The drummer's Mel Gaynor now, from Simple
oh
Minds.
my god, is he? Is
Yeah, yeah. He does. He's the drummer now. But I did it. I had some great. We did some good tours. We did one disco tour in France that I really enjoyed, where we opened up for Kool and the Gang, original Kool and the Gang, and
Yeah.
then after was Al McKay's Earth, Wind and Fire, which were pretty
wow.
special. And that was a great tour. That was really nice. It was only about 8 or 9 gigs, but we go to France, get the Eurostar, get picked up, do the gig, go back, Eurostar. It was all like that. It was great. It really worked.
Yeah, I didn't realize because Mel Gaynor's actually got another band called U2 Minds, and they
Yeah.
play with
Has
this
he
one.
been on the Ask the Drummer thing?
Well, I'd love him to be on Ask the Drummer, but I tried.
You
They
should,
tried him 3 times. But
You should get in touch with him. I mean, he's on. I can give you an email. I've got an email, I think, of it.
oh, that would be great. I've tried to have him, but so like, hopefully one day I will get.
Yeah. And he does Imagination. I mean, Lee's great. He's still going. He's one of those people, again, he's a workaholic, never stops.
Yeah.
Whatever he can do, he's doing films, everything.
And so when you're not drumming, again, that's why I ask you if you ever actually get time off. Because when you're not drumming, you mentioned earlier before we came on live that you're a teacher.
Well, it was funny. I mean, there's a school in Kensal Rise called Mallory's, and I got a call from a friend who's a bass player, and I thought he was calling me. It's about 10 years ago now. I thought he was calling me for a gig.
For a
But he
gig,
said,
yeah.
"You teach, don't you?" I went, "Yeah, of course I do," as you do. And the next thing I know, I was in a school teaching drums.
Oh,
And it was part of this. They had a thing there. Had quite an established musical legacy at this school, which was unusual it's a state primary school. But
yeah.
this band called Penguin Cafe Orchestra are quite well known, sort of highbrow kind of classical meets, I don't know. Yeah. And they sort of developed this legacy there. And I kind of, the guy who was kind of coming out of it, and they brought me in. And so I started teaching quite young kids, they'll be primary age, so 7 to 11.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're learning drums, and now we've got a nice music shack there where I've got 2 kits set up, and we got amps and stuff. And we try. It's like School of Rock, basically.
Oh wow! How long have you been doing it?
Probably about 8 years or so now. I mean, I only do one afternoon a week now. I try to, because it takes quite a lot of time, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
great. I love the kids, and the school's good. It's all, it's. I feel, especially when they do gigs, you feel like you're actually getting somewhere. I try to always encourage them to jam together, and because that's the most important thing I think about playing an instrument, really.
yeah. Well, you're the best person to ask. Is being a drummer, or knowing how to play the drums, does it come to you naturally? It's like a gift, or can you actually anyone can play the drums?
It's funny. I mean, when you get kids in, and you think, I mean, it's very rare that you'd have someone who really can't grasp it. Some kids take a lot longer. Some kids are really good, but they're not interested. You get all these. Some kids are really interested, but they're not that good. Everyone can get by. I taught some special needs, a couple of special needs kids drumming, which really helped them because it becomes a kind of therapy. I think there is a therapeutic aspect to drumming, and it helps kids in those sort of situations and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few. Yeah,
Sorry?
there's quite a few drummers who do this, who like teach drums to like especially.
Yeah, I mean, I find certain beats. I don't know why I feel. At home, I play them, and it feels natural to me. It's mostly funk beats and stuff like that, jazzy kind of funk. But I might struggle sometimes with something really, strange, and you've got to learn it and work at it, and it doesn't come quite like strange time signatures and stuff like that. I'm not great on all that, and those sort of massive chops and all that stuff. I don't really play that style.
Yeah,
but holding down the groove, that's my bag.
So do you start with like this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, independence is, it's always something you've got to work at, and it's never ending. Even the greatest drummers in the world will tell you that when they're still learning stuff.
Yeah.
In their 90s, if they make it that far.
Do you get recognized? Do your students actually know that you're a famous drummer?
Not really. I mean, sometimes you ask these kids, have you heard of the Beatles? And they'll look at you blankly. So you think, well, and I mean, the closest I get to impressing them, I think, is if I mention Sia.
Oh, yeah.
They might have heard of her just.
Yeah.
Or Pharrell. I did a remix for 07 and on a Pharrell record of the Neptunes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I never met him, but I was on the record and it did quite well.
Oh, right. No, I do like
say, but it's a funny one. They, I don't encourage them to go on YouTube too much because young kids aren't really allowed to. I don't surf that kind of thing, are they? I'm not sure. But the first thing I'll get them to watch is the Muppets, Animal versus Buddy.
Animal, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You've got to go home and watch Animal versus Buddy Rich.
Oh, I've seen that.
And they love it. Trying to get them, involved in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, as a funky drummer, do you have like funky drumming tricks? I mean, I'm gonna ask you, do you twirl when you play the drums?
No, I don't. I did. I was amazed. I never usually do this, but we played for Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes at the Margate Soul Festival, and it was quite an intense show. We had to read bits of it and stuff. It was really full on. And at the end, I was quite relieved. And I threw my stick really high, and it twirled up, so it came down, and I caught it. Bish! I was quite pleased. I'm not sure I'll try it every time. But mainly, I'd say about playing funk. I mean, it's the 2 and 4 is very obviously very important. The 1, just the kind of with the lean and the kind of lilt you can get on it. And when the band's good and you're all fitting together, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, and you're just kind of holding it all together. And I mean, there's kind of it's things. The hi-hat, is an interesting beast with funk. It's not necessarily you're going like hitting it really hard, but you can get some quite nice intricate patterns with that. But as long as and then you got your 2 and 4, and also then you've got, of course, a lot of it's 2 and 4, like disco-y kind of stuff. But then you've got the more funkier beats, like the early 70s sort of, what's a good example? Like the James Brown kind of stuff, it's more intricate. And the funky drummer kind of thing,
So funky drumming, is it more or less the jazzy drumming in the rock? How would you say? Is it in between jazz
I'd say it's probably more related to jazz drumming.
Yeah.
But then, you can find out that, some great drummers like the Iron Maiden guy, what's his name, Nico McBrain, they're all jazz lovers, and the big band thing comes into it, but yeah, it is connected, because the stuff that we loved, the early 70s stuff, was mainly jazz drummer players playing a more straightforward beat than they would normally do, because the dance trends had become, were happening at that time, like New Orleans and stuff. Eddie Bow, I actually played for him, and he's got some incredible, you can see how that's being born, the whole funk sound and everything's amazing.
Yeah, well, John Coughlin of Status Quo, he's doing jazz quo now. I reimagined Status Quo, so it's because I went to see him live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a few months ago. It's actually amazing. It's very interesting having all these like jazz musicians, and he's doing the jazz drumming of Status Quo songs. So that's quite interesting.
I probably listen to jazz more than any other form of music.
Yeah, well, for someone who's because you mentioned yourself, you just taught yourself how to play.
Yeah.
But now you're actually teaching them. Do you go into the technical?
I do. I mean, when I started the teaching, I was probably a bit green at all that, and I had to obviously quickly swat up on and the real help, to be honest with it, has been the rock school syllabus. Rock school.
Oh.
And they have there's up to grade 8, and they have books, which some of them are called hot rock books, where they've got actual tunes like Back in Black and things like that. And they've got, it's all scored, and you get a CD. It's a shorter version, and they can play along to it and read it, and it's really good for them. And I think without that, I'd probably struggle a little bit, because I'm not having not been taught myself. The only lesson I ever had was quite a good one. I had a lesson with Will Kennedy, from the Yellow Jackets.
Oh,
in the States, he's a premier American jazz player. The Yellow Jacket, Will Kennedy, his name is, and he was doing one-on-ones, and I managed to get a little place in it. That was pretty good.
So would you recommend then to anyone who wanted to play drums or become a drummer as a career, would you recommend for them to go and have proper drumming lessons, or just
I would. Yeah, I think it's hard to get them, and it was hard for me as well, the early days, to actually have somewhere to play the drums. Because you can't just set up in your house and immediately people start screaming at you,
will be like,
and there's bad letters coming through the door. So, but it's that'll always give you the chance to really let loose on a kit. If you get some lessons and the basics. In some ways, my style is sort of different, because I haven't been taught, so I've never, but I still work on a lot of sticking. I'm doing probably more now than ever, and everybody uses the old George Stone, the stick control for the snare drummer. You know that one?
Yeah.
Yes. Look, I make out that it's like some sort of when I'm with the kids. I'll show it to you.
Oh, right.
It looks like it's from the 90s, like the turn, 300
years. So you do read notes. you can read notes. I can read notes better now. I probably wouldn't say I'm one of those sight reading players who do pits, the pit orchestra guys. They just sit there and just do. I'm not really at that level of reading, but I can read. Yeah.
I use it quite a lot. If you've got a pickup gig, someone from the States or something like that, when we did Harold Melvin, you can always get endings and stuff. It's really handy for that. Because the beats you just know, and the tempos you learn. But then generally, even with the score writing, they never write the fill because it would look silly, wouldn't it? Especially like the Motown fill, and it's like a 6-stroke roll or something, isn't it? And an accent. It would look in triplets across. It would look really bad on score. But they just put fill.
Well, with the drums, with the drums though, because with the guitars,
Yeah.
there's only so many chords, that they can like mix or maybe put together and then come up with the song. But with the drums,
it's endless.
There's like unlimited things that you can do with the drums, right?
I mean, there's all those tune drums I'm getting quite interested in, and I've always liked the look of vibraphones, which to me look like drums on with notes. They just but you're bashing them, but they're very expensive. I haven't got a set. I wouldn't mind. I'd love to play a bit more of that, and just the hang drums and all those sort of things. They're coming out, and there's so many different sorts, and they can be very musical as well.
Yeah. Well, this new album that the Blow Monkeys are recording. How what would you call it? Are you part of the the drumming part or the drumming bit of it? You're the one who's supplying the drum.
Yeah, I'll supply the drums. I mean, when Robert will normally have an idea, he's the main writer, and he gets the maps together on Logic or whatever, and he'll send them to us. It will just be a very simple beat on there, something like just to get the song going. Yeah. And I'll put all the drums on, and if he doesn't like it, he'll tell me.
As you can tell, when it comes to technical things about music, I don't really know all the right words to say, but it's like when they come up with all these songs, sometimes I think that it's the songwriter who's already got it in his head, and he knows what the drum part is going to be like, and then they just give it to the drummer. But I just want to make sure how involved is the drummer in creating
it's a good question because it is a good question because it really depends on how it's got together. Like if you were in a sound check and just start jamming, I put the beat down, and he might go and make that into a song. And it's more like that with Galliano. It's a little bit more organic. We're all involved in that process, whereas Robert does have quite a strong idea about how he wants the song to go. It might change the bass line a bit onto what I'm doing or something. He might move it around, if he likes that. And
well, is there ever a song that started from a drum bit, a drum sort like
what on the Blow Monkeys album?
That's like
there is there's one we do in the set where I do a solo, which I kind of changed. He already had the song, but I kind of changed the rhythm a bit and took my sort of take on it, and it ended up it's almost like a mad calypso goes punk rock. It's really that, but it's good fun to play, and I get a solo in it, and it's getting longer and longer.
No, it's good when they do like drum solos, because sometimes I went to a gig recently and the singer left, so it's only the other band members that's on the stage. And it's good to see the drummer actually, doing all these solos.
Yeah. I know. It became a bit maligned, didn't it? I mean, obviously in jazz there's a lot of drum solos, but the Bonham one, the Moby Dick and all that. Left stage, isn't it? The ultimate was about 40 minutes, isn't it? That's what I'm aiming for.
And then the singer will just end up he's gone home and they're still playing the drums.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what about drumming heroes? Do you have any drumming heroes?
Oh yeah, loads. I mean, we mentioned Buddy Richard, and he's a kind of incredible. He took it to a level, didn't he? And a lot of jazz players, like Harvey Mason and Mike Clark and David Garibaldi. The Tower of Power drummer. He's been a bit of an influence. Do you know him? He's got some books out. He's it's very sort of intricate paradiddle type funk stuff. Really good. Tower of Power, he did that for years. All the James Brown guys, obviously, Jabbo Starks and Clyde Stubblefield and
wow.
And then you got James Gadsden and Steve Gadd and people like that. They're big influences as well. and I love listening to them. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, all of them.
yeah. Do you know, I forgot to ask you about Monk's Road Social.
Oh yeah,
Because yeah, because that's another one that's on your Discogs entries, Monk
yeah,
Road Social. This is a band.
yeah.
Is it
It's a kind of sort of eclectic, if that's the right word, a mix of
a collective?
different
Yeah,
songs and stuff. And Robert produces it, and he's produced. I think we've done 4 albums for that actually. And the guy behind it, he's basically he started the label, Richard, and he kind of he just gave Robert carte blanche, just do what you want. And so we use some of Robert's songs, and then there's a band called Stone Foundation. Do you know those guys?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They've got a track on one of them, and different people have different tracks. And it's
Oh,
Richard Clark's baby, really. And I think he does some. He's got a few albums out. He did the label. If anyone wanted to look it up, Monks Road Records. They got quite a lot of releases. There's some really good stuff, you know. And I don't think it's really hit the mainstream by any means.
yeah.
And it's been really good fun. We went into some nice studios. We went into Mono Valley to do the first one, which is great in Wales, which actually doesn't exist anymore. But I got put in the haunted room, which wasn't so good.
Is this the one in? Is it Monmouth? Is it the one in
Yes,
Monmouth?
exactly.
Yeah,
Monmouth,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh. Didn't they do a documentary about it?
They did, because there's Rockfield is excuse me, Rockfield is up the road, and basically Rockfield was very successful. Rockfield, they recorded Bohemian Rhapsody and things like that in there. You know, loads of stuff's been done in there. It's a beautiful studio, but because it was so successful, the back of it, there's one down the road, and they're residential, and they're amazing studios. I mean, really, it's a shame Mono Valley's gone. Rockfield's still there, but Oasis did use Mono Valley for one of their big albums. There's a picture of those doors. There's kind of massive, great doors, glass doors. And one of the covers I saw, and that's Mono Valley.
Oh, okay.
That's a really nice video.
And it was haunted. It's a haunted song.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because he mentions, Liam Gallagher mentions he was in the haunted room. And I was put in the haunted room. And no one told me till I left because they didn't want me to make a fuss.
Oh, was it? But did you experience?
And I did have a strange dream.
Well, did you experience anything that's so like creepy or like?
Yeah, well, it wasn't really creepy, but it was definitely something going on. But apparently they blamed Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, and they had to get a medium in to exorcise the room. So it wasn't too bad. I think it was.
Oh wow. Okay, well, another one is, what about drumming disasters? Have you ever had any? So, like, have you fallen off your drum stool?
Yeah, well, I had once in a Galliano gig in Italy. Do you know how sometimes drum fills are really big? They could be as big as a door, you know, big drum fills by the side and I never realized I was wondering why they are quite so big. It was a festival, it was quite a big gig, and the thing slipped off and started crushing me while I was playing.
Oh,
and it must have looked quite funny to the audience, because after a while they would have just seen a hand reaching up trying to still play the cymbal with a massive great speaker on top of me, and then these guys ran in and pulled it away, and I was very disorientated by it and frightened, because it felt like you were being attacked. You're not expecting it. You're in your own little world playing away on the drums, and suddenly I was being crushed by a massive great speaker.
But you still carried on?
I had to carry on. Yeah, the show must go on. But it would have been quite funny, yeah, sort of fun. And I had to take a break then. We had a percussion player, Spry, in the band, and he could play a bit of kit. So I took 5 minutes rest because my heart was going. It really frightened me.
Gosh, oh gosh. Just 5 minutes, and then you came back, and then
that was fine after that.
You were fine.
I'm rating the crew though. They nearly killed me. Not in Italian though. I couldn't think of enough Italian swear words. Sorry?
When things like that happen, I mean, you're obviously insured, and then even, it's like...
yeah, I would hope so. Well, who knows, But it's is very frightening because you never expect anything like that to happen. I mean, we've had things thrown at me and stuff like that. Obviously, that's normal when you're growing up. You know, pints of beer and what have you, cans of beer. But well, I think we did support U2 once in Bologna Stadium on the Zoo tour with Galliano, and we arrived at the stadium, and we looked out. You can look through the wings, and all you could see was projectiles landing on the stage. Who the band before us were getting pummeled with bread, salami, sandwiches, bottles of water, anything, like 60,000 people chucking things at them. And we thought, oh no, we're next. And the band came off and the singer had a cut head, you know, from a
No way. Oh, God.
Yeah. And we thought, we're next. Oh no, we were like, you know, Daniel to the Lions. But we went on, and because our sound was a bit more jazzy and stuff, they were still throwing things at us. And as the drummer, you're a sitting target, aren't you? I saw the salami heading for me.
I don't think they don't do that anymore. I mean, people
I don't think you're allowed to anymore.
Oh God, I don't think I've ever been to a gig where a member of the audience threw something. Maybe flowers or
yeah. Well, they used to do in the punk days. It was normal. We once did a gig supporting John Cooper Clarke, where there's a sort of poetry thing, and they threw a whole crate of beers on the stage, like in a crate.
Yeah, I've heard about.
He just put it in his poem, like nothing had happened.
Well, I've heard about the spitting during the punk.
Oh yeah, lucky we avoided that. I wouldn't have been into that at all. I think I would have taken up another form of music.
Because, well, being a drummer at the back, I think that's one of, it's an advantage. You're not the front man and everything.
Oh, that's horrendous. That I mean, we weren't really the punk bands I played in were on the. We were probably a little bit young for proper punk, so we were a bit later when people had stopped gobbing on each other.
Yeah. I'm also glad that they don't do that anymore, because that
absolutely so am I.
Yeah. So I've asked you before about, would you recommend for aspiring drummers to do lessons? What other advice would you give to aspiring drummers or musicians in general?
Yeah, I think you've got to have the love for the music first, and work and play to music. Find out what the great drummers are doing, and just that was how I learned really. But you've got to have that, the love for the music that you're working at, the genre or whatever, and and also just. The beat is obviously the most important thing, the timekeeping and stuff. You could probably get away with without even doing any fills, just as long as you can keep time.
That's good. Yeah, keep time. That's very good. Well, you're doing Galliano and you're doing the Blow Monkeys.
Yeah.
And you've got your solo project as well.
Well, yeah, I've yet to I finished that, but it will be. The Pump Taylor show. My album should be out soon. It was actually Richard Clarke at Monk's Road asked me to do it, and so I thought, why not?
So is there singing or?
I probably won't be singing. I might get, but I know quite a few singers, so that's not a problem.
But this is your solo project, and you're doing all the drum bits on it.
Yeah, I'll do the drums. I play a bit of guitar still, and a bit of. I can work my way around keys and I'll get the ideas down. Then I'll get some of my friends in who are good, proper players to play on it. And hopefully, some horns and stuff. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be nice to listen to. Well, I hope so, yeah.
It'll be released before the end of the year, or it'll be next year?
I'm not sure about that. It really depends how quickly I can finish it off.
Yeah. You've been so busy with the tours as well.
This is it. You get busy, and you can't. I love playing live, and that's really what I'm best known for. So I'll always be doing that, hopefully. But if there's any time, I'll get in my little studio.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, thank you so much.
My
The Pump
pleasure. Thank you,
Taylor.
Anne.
Thank you. And so the Blow Monkeys UK tour. Oh, if there's anyone watching us in Spain, the
There
Spanish
is some
tour
UK
starts in
gigs.
October.
I'll have a quick check. I think there's some UK gigs for the in we've got
There's
yeah, we've
Manchester.
got the end of November. We've got a UK tour, and so around the Galliano thing as well. It's worked out quite well. I can do both of them.
Yeah.
And then yeah, there's some build up to the 5th of December, which is Cadogan Hall Blow Monkeys, which is
Yeah.
the big retrospective thing, which should be fun.
Yeah. And then after that you'll have a nice rest, have a nice Christmas, and then start again next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Amazing. You're so good. So hope to see you in November. Yeah, November at the Academy in Manchester.
Yeah, look out for the Galliano one in Manchester as well, because I think it's Blue. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Anna.
See ya. Bye. Take care. Bye. Oh, and have a lovely week. And you have a lovely rest before your Spanish tour as well. So
oh, thanks.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live. And I do apologize for what happened. It's been it's been happening quite a few times now. Hopefully we can sort it out, or maybe like I said, get a new computer. Maybe that's the problem. But anyways, thank you so much to Crispin Taylor, the Pump Taylor, for joining us today. That is absolutely amazing. I have seen him play drums in the Blow Monkeys, and he's so good. So they're doing a UK tour in November. So do just check out their social media, Facebook page, and or Google it. And also Galliano as well. I didn't know about the Manchester gig, but I'm really definitely going to check that out. But anyways, thank you so much. I'm going away for a couple of weeks, so there's no Asta drummer for 2 weeks, but I'll be back in October, the first Sunday of October, with some more amazing drummers. I've got loads until next year. Actually, I've got so many drummers lined up for everyone, because I do love chatting to drummers. So anyways, thank you all so much. Have a lovely week, and then I'll see you all in 2 weeks time, first Sunday of October. And as always, love music, love life, love drummers. They're absolutely amazing. They are the coolest people in the world. They're a funky drummer, Crispin the Pump Taylor. Thank you, and see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye.